Okay, so sit yourself on your lift. Just come into a cross-legged position and find yourself some levelness underneath your seat bones. Just take some deep inhalations, deep exhalations. Just listen to the sound of your breath. Fill in the lungs from the bottom to the top. Emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Hold onto your knees and lift the front chest, drive the front chest upwards, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just listen to the sound of your breath as it enters and as it exits. So deep inhalations, deep exhalations. Inhaling if you can through the nose and out the nose, but if you've got a cold and you're all bunged up, then obviously breathe in through the mouth. Release your knees and bring your hands into Namaste. Press in the palms firmly together. Lengthen from your armpits into your elbows. From your elbows into the heels of your hands. From the heels of your hands into the fingertips. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And with the following exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Just continuing to focus on inflating and deflating the lungs. Feeling as though you're inflating the lungs in 3 dimensions, not just up and down, but outwards into the back chest, into the front chest, into the armpit chest. As long as there are no issues with heart, no heart conditions or blood pressure issues, you can hold the breath at the top of the in-breath just for a second or two, just to ingest the energy from each of the inhalations. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. hold on to that feeling of abundance in your heart area, and then very gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold onto your knees, lift and open the chest, driving the spine upwards, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation in through your nose and then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. Just listen to the sound of the breath and turn the abdomen. Turn the abdomen, turn the ribs, turn the shoulders. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knee. Lift your chest with an inhalation and then turn to the left with an exhalation, drawing the abdomen across, the ribs and the shoulders, using your out breath to move more deeply into the turn. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift, come into Adho Mukha virasana. So the knees are wide apart, the seat bones are pressing down onto the heels if you can. So press the seat bones down onto the heels so you really sandwich the legs together. Activate the shins by pressing the shins consciously into the floor, so that activates the thighs and helps you to lift up into the chest. Come forward, stretching forwards, stretching your arms away, pressing down onto your heels as you extend into your arms. Bring your forehead down, but try to keep the seat bones down on the heels. Just breathe evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath, extending into the arms, extending down into the tailbone. Come up onto your knees. Have your hands as wide apart as the mat, stretching the thumbs towards each other. Turn your toes under and then come up into dog down. Just activating the kneecaps. Pressing the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees. Turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Drawing the backs of the thighs outwards. Just listen to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And then step your feet forwards, come up into a standing position, and then have your feet as wide apart as your mat. Have blocks for your hands if you're going into half uttanasana. If you've got problems with your back, then it's better to just come into half uttanasana rather than into full uttanasana. So you've got your hands on the blocks, extending the chin and the chest forwards like that. Otherwise, have the feet as wide apart as the mat with your big toes turning inwards. Raise your arms up, extend up into the chest. Really activate your legs, tighten your kneecaps, hit the front of the knee through to the back of the knee. Turn the fronts of the thighs in, push the inner knees away from each other and lift the inner knees up towards the groin. And then bring the thumb into the opposite crease of the elbow, wrap your fingers around your elbows and then come forwards, keeping the back straight as you come forwards, and then hang down. Use the blocks underneath your hands if you're protecting your back. Otherwise, just using this pose to gently stretch out your spine, activating the legs really evenly so both legs work evenly. But that doesn't often naturally occur. You have to observe the most enthusiastic leg and get the less enthusiastic leg to work in alignment with the more enthusiastic leg. Just feel how the legs can lift up like an arrowhead from the heels into the seat bones, and how the top of the body can hang down. And then release your hands down to the floor. Just come into half uttanasana for a moment. And then bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Just come into tadasana. So just stand with your feet together, big toes touching, your heels touching, and then lift the kneecaps. So keep the kneecaps drawing into the socket, drawing the kneecap into the back of the knee. Lift up into the chest. Breathe from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs, just listening to the sound of the breath. And then bring your arms out to the side, stretching into the fingertips. Feel that you can stretch the palms of the hand. Bring the hands into the chest and then step or jump the feet apart for trikonasana. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out. Lift up into the chest and then come over to the side. See if you can maintain evenness of the length of the trunk. Activate this back leg really firmly. So this is often our first standing pose because it really gives us a good stretch. It wakes up the legs, it lengthens, it helps us to extend into the spine, it clears the sinuses. Reach up with the top hand, come back to the center, swap the feet around, turn the right toes in and the left leg and foot all the way out, and then keeping both legs evenly engaged. Reach down, find the shin, try and keep both sides of the torso evenly extending, and just turn the chest. Just feel where your pose is this morning. So one of the benefits of coming into the same pose each time is that we feel it differently each time. We feel the body, how the body responds to it each time. Come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump your feet back together. Come back into Tadasana, lift and open the chest. Just breathe evenly and deeply. Get the belt and put that over, get your belt and put it over your right shoulder. So we're just going to stretch out the shoulders in gomukhasana. So have the feet together, just lift and open the chest, drive the chest upwards. Just breathe evenly and deeply. So Andrew, you just turned up, so just do dog down for a second, for a few moments, just to kind of, just to give you a bit of an initial stretch. Just lift up into the chest, a bit longer than that, but don't. Just stretch the left arm forwards. Spread the palms. And then turn the palm all the way out. Rotating the palm in the socket. And then reach behind you. Keep the arm high. Keep rotating the upper arm in the socket. And then just bring that arm up towards the neck. So just see where that hand goes. Try and use the other hand to kind of assist it up the back, and then stretch up into the top arm, and then reach down. See if you can take hold. So if you can't take hold, so my shoulders have been really stiff recently, so I've had to use the belt. So you just hold onto the belt, and then you pull the belt really firmly. Pull the top elbow up towards the ceiling, your bottom elbow down towards the floor, and then just little by little, you try and creep your hands together. And so eventually your hands will maybe touch, but just incrementally. So lift the top elbow up to the ceiling, bottom elbow down to the floor, just really trying to open up those shoulders. Just creeping the hands a little closer together. Just breathe evenly, deeply listening to the breath, having a little tug of war with your own arms, lengthening the top elbow up to the ceiling, the bottom elbow down to the floor. Okay, and then release the top arm, and then just gently drop the chest a little and allow the other arm to gently just release, and then stretch your arms away. Resist the temptation to shake your fingers. Breathe evenly and deeply, and then put the belt onto the other side. I think one of the things that is stopping me from reaching my arms is my hood is in the way. So let's just see if I can just bit more space on this side. This shoulder for me is always my stiffer shoulder of the two, although this one's kind of having a good old go at being better than that one, or being more stiff than that one. So stretch the right arm forwards, extend into the fingertips, spreading the palms. Take a deep inhalation and then turn the upper arm in the socket. Keep reaching behind you, keeping the arm high for as long as you can, and then assist that arm up your back. Try and get the fingers to reach towards the neck. And then reach up with the left arm. The previous pose will still be in that shoulder. And then reach down. Just take hold of the belt or take hold of the hands. And then have a little tug of war between the elbows, lifting the top elbow to the ceiling, the bottom elbow down to the floor. Breathing evenly and deeply listening to the sound of the breath. Soft in the jaw and in the tongue and in the throat. And then release that top arm, and then just adjust so that you can release bottom arm, and then stretch your arms out. And then extend your arms forwards, interlock the fingers, turn the palms all the way out, keeping the thumbs in contact with each other, and then just raise your arms over your head. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Soft in the jaw and in the tongue and in the throat. And then release your arms. And then come back into Tadasana. Spreading the fingers. So there's a method that we can use that kind of helps us to really stretch open the shoulders. So you need like a post or a door frame or even a windowsill. So a windowsill, if you've got a high windowsill, it will do the job quite nicely. Now this is a little bit too low really, but if there was a higher windowsill, that would work. So we're just gonna come to the post or to your door frame, and then you're gonna walk your hand behind the back like you did in gomukhasana. So we're working on with the left arm behind the back, and then you take hold of the post. So you got to hold fairly firmly, and then you're gonna just gently draw the chest away, and then bend your knees a little. Keep the hand connected to the post. Keep drawing the chest away, just a little bit at a time, and then reach up, reach down, and then maybe you'll find you hold better. So let's give that a go together. So just reach the hand, reach the left hand behind you, reach up as high as you can on the post or on the door frame, and then draw your chest away, give yourself space, and then bend your knees, keeping the hand connected to the door frame, and then reach up with the top hand, and then see, can you take hold behind your back? So I can get hold this way. And then really lengthen the top elbow to the ceiling, the bottom elbow down to the floor, really stretching the shoulders apart. And then release the top arm, release the bottom arm, and then just stretch down into the fingertips. Turn the palms outward, lift up into the chest. Okay, so we'll do it with the other arm. So get the right arm, just stretch that right arm up as high as you can into on your post or on your door frame. Draw your chest away a little and then bend your knees. Try and keep that arm connected. Just come down and then reach up. And then see if you can take hold. Even if it's just with a couple of fingers. So just breathe evenly. And then release the top arm, release the bottom arm, and then again stretch your arms out in front, interlock the fingers but the unnatural way, so you just do your natural way and then slide all of the fingers down so that the opposite index finger is on the top of the stack. Turn the palms all the way out and then raise your arms over your head. So a real shoulder opener. Shoulder openers are really good for releasing your energy. Keep breathing evenly into the lungs. And then just gently release your arms and then come into Tadasana, lifting up into the chest. Just feel the warmth of the arms, of the shoulders. And then come down onto your knees. Have your hands shoulder width apart. Step back, have your feet hip width apart. Take a deep inhalation and on an exhalation, go back up into dog down. So feel if there is any difference in your shoulders. Just breathing evenly and deeply, listening to the breath, drawing the shoulder blades in towards the front chest. Push the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs. Keep the seat bones lifted up towards the ceiling and try and draw your heels down, but keep the seat bones lifted. Don't allow the seat bones to drop as you bring your heels closer to the floor. And then come back up onto your tiptoes. So from here, we're going to come into rajakapotasana. So if you need to, come down onto your knees to come into the pose. Otherwise, spread the toes of that left foot and then bend the right knee and bring the right knee forward to make contact with the right wrist. Bringing the right foot underneath the hip and then bring the left leg down onto the floor and then lengthen into that left leg. Come up into your fingertips. So lengthening into that left leg. So Ian, see if you can bring that right foot more kind of so that it sits underneath your hip. That's it. So the knee, can you bring the knee forwards a little more towards your right foot? Sorry, towards your right knee. Sorry, towards your right wrist. Bring that right knee closer towards your right wrist. That's it. And then extend back into the back leg. Lift up into the chest. It's a really good hip stretch, so we really stretched out the shoulders. This is a really nice way of stretching out the hips. Come down onto the palms of the hands. Turn the back toes under, so you either come back into a kneeling position, or we're going to go back up into dog down. So push the hands into the floor, lift the seat bones up, and then step that right leg back. So like I say, if coming in and out of rajakapotasana is too strong from dog down for you, then you do it from kneeling, and then you just kind of follow the same instructions, but you just do it from a kneeling position. So breathe into the pose. Spread the toes of the right foot. Bend the left leg, and then bring the left knee to make contact with the left wrist. Bring it all the way forward. Walk that back leg towards the wall behind you. Have the left foot so that it's sitting underneath the right hip. And then lift up into the chest. So lengthening into the hips. Lengthening the bent leg hip, from the hip into the knee into the toes. Tadasanaizing that back leg, turning the back leg, the front of the back leg inward so that the hips can sit more level. Lifting out of the abdomen into the diaphragm, collarbone, chin. And then bring the palms down, turn the toes in, the back foot, just walk in a little bit, and then step back into the dog down. And then come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels, lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down. And then come forwards, just stretching out into Adho Mukha virasana. Okay, release your arms underneath your hands, push your hands into the floor, and then come up into virasana. So come down onto your back into supta, baddha konasana, just laying down on your back, soles of the feet together, knees apart, and then just rest into the floor for a moment, so that this again really opens up the hips in another way. If there's stiffness in the hips, then put blocks underneath your thighs. Otherwise, just let gravity draw the knees apart. But we can assist that gravity by pressing the heels consciously together, pressing the outer edge of the feet consciously together, pressing the big toes consciously together. And then lengthening from the inner groin along the inner thigh towards the inner knee, and then around the inner knee to the outer knee. And then from the outer knee down into the heels, down along the outer calf muscle and down into the heels. And from the outer heels into the inner heels, from the inner heels into the along the inner calf muscle to the inner knee, and then from the inner knee to the outer knee and up the outer thigh up into the hip. So there's this figure of 8 action of extension in the legs. So keep that action active. Just broaden the abdomen so that the abdominal walls draw down into the floor. Tuck the tailbone in a little if you can. Stretch your arms up to the ceiling, interlock your fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then extend your arms along the floor. If you've got stiffness in your shoulders, then put blocks or folded blanket underneath your hands just to support the shoulders. Just breathe evenly. Push in the heels together, broadening the abdomen into the abdominal walls, extending into the arms. And then release your arms. Swap the interlock of the fingers and then extend your arms away from the body. Just listening to the sound of the breath as it enters, as it exits, feeling that you can really inflate into the lungs. Okay, release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs for a moment. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Pull your knees in towards your chest. Have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. Just a gentle massage on your spine. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. Just coming to cross legs for a moment. Hold on to the knees. And then lift the chest, drive the chest upwards. Just breathe evenly. Breathe deeply, softening the jaw and the tongue and the throat. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest for Jalandhara Bandha. Lift the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region for Mula Bandha. And then continue to fill the lungs and allow the lungs to overflow into the arms and into the chest, into the legs. Allow that in-breath to fill the bottom of the lungs up to the top and then overflow into the limbs. gently release the chin from the chest, release Mula Bandha, and then raise the chest, raise the head, lift up into the chest, driving the chest up towards the ceiling. Take a deep inhalation. And then turn to your right side, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across, keeping the neck soft. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees. Lift up into the chest. Take a deep inhalation in through your nose. And then turn to the left. Drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. And then gently come back to the center. So we're just going to come onto our knees and then get your bolster. If you haven't got a bolster, just use some kind of folded up blankets or cushions. So we're going to come along the bolster into our restorative surfboard pose. So you need a bolster and a block and a blanket on top of the block, just to kind of cushion the blanket the block a little bit. And then if you've got something to put underneath your shins, like a rolled up blanket, then that's useful as well. So you can come down, so you're going to be on all fours, and then you can come along the bolster. Now the aim is to get your head, so you lay across the front of the bolster. Your chin needs to be free of the bolster. So you bring your chin down. So it's usually about the pelvis. It depends on the length of your body, really, but it's generally around the length of the pelvis, just underneath the pelvis, at the end of the bolster, and then your chin needs to be free. You've need a block for underneath your head with the blanket, and then just rest your arms over, just kind of above your head along the floor. Keep the elbows bent, and then allow yourself to just release into the floor. So we've done some fairly intense shoulder work, some reasonably intense hip work. So this restorative surfboard pose is really good for softening out the shoulders and the neck. It's also nice in the hips because there's pressure on the hips. So just allow yourself to let go. While we're here, we're going to use a little back breathing. So we don't often breathe into the back. We tend to breathe into the front of the body. But the back of the body is almost 40% of our lung capacity. So we're not indulging in full breaths unless we engage the back. So the back breathing uses 3 areas of the back: the upper back, around the shoulders and the shoulder blades, the middle of the back, around the kind of center of the spine, out into the side ribs, and the bottom of the back, around the sacrum and around the hips. The first inhalation is into the upper back. Breathe into, consciously, the upper back. Breathing into the center of the upper back and out into the armpits. And then just a normal exhalation. Then breathe into the middle of the back and out into the side ribs. Feeling the back expand. And then a normal exhalation, and then down into the hips, into the sacrum and into the hips. And normal exhalation. So just continue to cycle around those 3 breaths, the upper shoulders, the shoulder blades, the center of the back, and the lower back. So really feeling like you're inflating the back. So just complete the cycle that you're currently on, and then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. And then bring your hands underneath your shoulders, lift your head, and then just come up onto your knees. And then just sit yourself in cross legs on top of your bolster or on top of your lift. So just hold onto your knees, really lift up into the chest, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Bring your hands into Namaste, pressing the palms firmly together. Just draw your breath into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice. exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside, and then radiate some of that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have really kind of lifted your positive energy, giving yourself some good energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.